live. Let's cue that music. There we go. Can you guys see me yet? New system we're working with here. But I think we're live. Let me pull you up. There I am. Welcome everybody to The Candle Enthusiast. I am your host, Shane Carlson. Now, if you read the headline of this video, you just might be confused. This is, we're going to be unboxing a brand new, yet to be released, obviously, brand new fragrance by Yankee Candle for 2019. Any of you guys that know me know how much I am completely obsessed with Yankee Candle Halloween ever since I was a child. Yankee Candle and autumn and Halloween really is what candle burning was all about, and Christmas too, but Halloween even more so. Every year I go out and buy my Witch's Brew candle, just like I would every Christmas to go get my Christmas tree. And we don't have a Witch's Brew here today, but we do have this new fragrance. It's not a new name, but it's called Trick or Treat. Some of you may have seen some pictures online. Some of you may be hearing this for the first time, but I have not smelled it. I have not held it. I have not seen it with my own hands. My very good friend and fellow YouTube friend, the Philly Candleman, Brett. Brett, huge shout out. I think anyone who deserves credit for putting in work and effort to hunt down yet to be released candles, it's Brett. He really outdid himself with this. I couldn't find it this year, and Brett was kind enough to send one my way. And I have the box right here. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. If you are new to this channel, The Candle Enthusiast, make sure you hit that subscribe button, especially if you're like me and interested in everything Halloween, because after 4th of July, that's when, the Halloween season doesn't begin, but this is when preparation starts, and it's when all the gossip begins. It's when the internet explodes with everything Halloween. So let's do this. All right, so we have, first of all, non-sponsored video and non-sponsored. We have Homeworks by Harry Slackenbox. Little plug for them. Let me see. I'm gonna pull up. Yes, I'm seeing a few of you folks. Remember, I can see your comments, but I want to move quickly through this because I don't want this video to be extremely long for people who just want to see what's inside. But I do see some of you folks in the chat area saying thanks to Brett, so please say thank you to Brett, Philly Candleman. You should really swing on over to his channel and subscribe. He really is on top of things. If you want someone to really report the news, what's going on, this is the guy you want to be subscribed to. Here we go. Okay, I gotta like soak this in. I'm moving too fast here. If you've seen my other sneak peek, first look Halloween videos, ooh, looks like we have some extras. Check it out. We have some Country Candle by Kringle Candle, and it looks like we have some candy corn tea lights. Wrapped very well, Brett. This is big. This is big. This is big. So I'm going to show you this candle, and then we're going to, before we sniff it, because like I said, I don't even know the fragrance notes. I don't even know if the fragrance notes are released. The description is released, but it's so incredibly vague. And Brett did put out his own video, but I told Brett that I can't watch his video until I smell this for the first time. I'm going to show you what this candle looks like. But then we're going to do a little bit of Yankee Candle history. We'll go back in time a little bit and we'll show you how it is that we got to this candle. Because if you are a hardcore Yankee Candle fan, or even if you're a casual Yankee Candle fan, you'll probably realize the name Trick or Treat has been used on several occasions, occasions throughout Yankee Candle's history. Oh, good God. All right, light. Let there be light. Let's get this. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I gotta take this in. Oh God, all right. So check it out, folks. Let me get that light just right. Yankee Candle, Trick or Treat. To me, I'll say this right from the get-go. This is a situation, folks, I told you. It was my prediction, and it seems to be coming to fruition, that I knew that in time, when these photographs on the labels were going to be composed for this new aspect ratio, this very much vertical photograph, it was going to suit the candle much better. When they're cropped, yes, I'll agree, you lose information, but we're not losing any information here. Nothing. And if you do look at the European label, it's beautiful. It really is. But it's cropped in its own way. And to be honest, to me, it's just not as pleasing to the eye. One thing, the US labels have much more saturation to the color. I'm referring to the label, of course. But also it has that luster, that chrome trim, and just the glossiness of the label, where the European labels, at least for now, because we all know that they will change, they seem, the colors are muted, and again, the composition just doesn't feel right. They're beautiful. Any of you folks joining in from abroad, I'm certainly not making fun of the new labels, but I'm actually very pleased. I knew I would eventually come around. So there it is, Trick or Treat. Got some tape on here, but like I said, let's talk about the genesis of this name, Trick or Treat, because some of you on the Candle Enthusiast Facebook group, little plug there, swing on over and request the join. It's where you're going to get all great up-to-date information. We have really big news for Kringle Halloween this year up on the Facebook group. So Candle Enthusiast Facebook group, go over, request the join. As long as you can keep it family friendly, we're happy to have you. But Trick or Treat. So if we go way back, let's not go way back. Let's just go back a few years ago. A candle that was recently retired. And was a fan favorite. Different label every year. It was called, obviously, Trick or Treat. Came in the medium size jar. And this is a swirl candle. It's got 4 quadrants. These were hand poured because they are no longer made by Yankee Candle. They were hand poured. And this candle was a blend of candy corn, the famous Yankee Candle fragrance, candy corn, and the white is buttercream. So you just get a more decadent, more sweet, more confectioner's candy corn. And what's good about this candle was that for those who really liked a powerful candy corn smell, this one was a little bit more intense than the candy corn fragrance. So for years we had Trick or Treat. Like I said, every year we had different labels. This was the 2011 hologram series. I have a few more here. I won't waste your time here. This one was cool. Kind of forget about that. A little trick-or-treater and a candy corn outfit. But we also had, like I said, the candle that I think a lot of people, safe to say, that are sad that it's gone. The candy corn candle, and you know the big part of the fun of this candle was that every year, like I said, different packaging, but you know it was always a kind of a surprise because years ago this stuff wouldn't leak on the internet. You had to wait until the catalog came in the mail. And this goes back to 2013, 14. I think that was my favorite design. But let's go back even further. Before there was the swirl candle, before there was the candy corn candle. Candy corn went by a different name, and this is where it gets really confusing. This is a 1999 medium-sized house warmer jar. Trick or treat. Let's get in close there. Look how much different these were back in the day. Look at that wax. That's like a ruby red wax there. We have the cat in front of the moon, the witch's broom, trick or treat. This was the candy corn fragrance. But again, when the swirl candle, sorry for the soft focus, when the swirl candle came out, they changed this fragrance to candy corn, and they called the swirl candle trick or treat. You follow me so far? It gets more confusing. The oldest Yankee Candle Halloween fragrance I've ever seen. I know there's gotta be others, but as far as pictures online, as far as the hardcore collectors who own everything, even when it comes to Yankee Candle's personal archival library, at least that's open to the public, I've never seen a Yankee Candle Halloween fragrance older than the one that I have in my hand. I shared this a long time ago, and I'll probably bring this out for a future video when we get closer to the season. But look at that. Yes, Yankee Candle used to make pillar candles, and let me tell you, you think they wouldn't be intense because with pillar candles you have to have a higher ratio to wax to fragrance oils, but man, these things were intense. Even if you purchase some vintage ones today and light them, they're still really, really intense. I burned a Christmas wreath last year. But yes, this is, with my eyes, whether it be a picture holding in my hand, the oldest Yankee Candle fragrance I've ever heard. If you know one that's older, this is probably going to be mid to late 80s, this fragrance. I know that they were doing Halloween fragrances before that, but it was probably in much smaller quantity, and I just don't think they exist anymore. But if you know an older one, please leave that in the comments below. Now, when the candy corn fragrance was retired, we received, it's warm, guys, it's warm. We received Sweet Seduction. This was introduced in 2017. It came back last year, 2018, the same exact label. We have that frappe cocktail dessert looking, candy corn-esque thing. Very luxurious looking. That's kind of the approach Yankee Candle was going for a couple of years. Very, very it's not rustic and New England at all. Very some of the fragrances, especially autumn, they looked like they were out of like a fancy display at Macy's in New York City. And this, to me, although a lot of people say that, oh man, it smells so boozy and it's got whiskey notes and rum notes, I get that, but to me, it was a successful approach. It was more intense than the candy corn fragrance. Not as intense as the trick or treat, the swirl candle. And in regards to the booziness, it didn't smell like alcohol. It smelled like rum candies, or whiskey saturated oak barrels. So it just added a little bit more sophistication to the classic candy corn fragrance. So that is at least a little touch, a little brief history of trick or treat / candy corn. But I know you guys are waiting for this. How many folks do we have with us? Well, I have 71 folks joining in. Please talk amongst yourselves. I will open it up to questions in just a little bit. Let me dab my forehead, if you don't mind. Woo! Hot day in New York. Here we go. Trick or treat one more time. Sorry to be this anticipation might be killing you guys, but trust me, it's doing the same to me. Here we go. One more time, if you're just joining in. I have no idea what this smells like, and I have not smelled it. I smell it now. Candle Enthusiast patented swirl. If you want to know what that's all about, leave me a comment in the comments below. Nothing to do with candy corn. Okay, nothing to do with candy corn, which is already, I feel, going against Yankee Candle's description. Again, I don't think they've released the fragrance notes, or it hasn't leaked, I should say, but the description has. I can read it right now, I think. A crisp autumn night filled with the sweet anticipation of sugary treats and spellbinding scents. It's very well written, but, that kind of makes you think that this is going to smell like a sack of Halloween candy. Instead of me going over fragrance notes, let me just talk about my initial feeling and impression. This is unquestionably fall. This is unquestionably autumn. It's a great Halloween candle, but this will work anytime throughout the season that you consider to be autumn, whether that be late August, all September, October. This would work on Thanksgiving. This would work in December. This is a very warm, cozy baking spice. Let's find a nice adjective here. Just a nice mixology here of baking spices. We can jump to conclusions and say that this is, pumpkin spice or apple pie spice and cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger and clove and all those things. But honestly, it's to me, cinnamon, freshly ground cinnamon, but not spicy. So if you're thinking atomic fireballs, red hot candies, red tamales, big red chewing gum Wrigley's, this is not a spicy cinnamon. This is almost like a jar of cinnamon that has been sitting in, let's say, your grandmother's spice cabinet for like 25 years. I don't know about you, but my grandmother, fantastic cook, fantastic baker, but man, when you'd go through her spice cabinet, some of those labels were from, it looked like the early 60s. She held on to her spices. And what happens to pre-ground packaged spices over time is that the pungentness, the spiciness mellows out, and it becomes more of this powdery, mild experience. So imagine like an old jar of McCormick's ground cinnamon, and that is not a bad thing if you're thinking that it might be. We have to immediately jump to nutmeg. I'm going to explain why nutmeg. Because it's not the same thing as cinnamon, and I think a lot of people just by default throw that in there. Nutmeg, freshly ground nutmeg, has a distinct, not like wood as in like fresh timber, like you just chopped down a tree, but more like furniture. If you grate your own nutmeg with a microplane, smell it next time. It has almost this like lacquered wood aroma. I do say this all the time, but I want to make sure that I'm saying it because it really, really applies in this situation, because there's this beautiful harmonious play of spicy baking spices that really complement the wood notes here. There's no question some form of other wood accord. It's not like cedar. This is not like pine. To me, this doesn't smell like oak. I don't know how Yankee Candle is going to describe it, but there's a woodiness, like, you know, a nicely aged piece of furniture. Or if you walk into an antique store and smell an old rocking chair, you don't need to smell it. You can smell it in the air when you walk into the furniture shop. But it complements. That word is important. It complements the spices. They help each other, right? And you know, as far as other spices, I'm gonna leave it alone. I mean, there's probably something like a star anise in here, because there's, you know, star anise and licorice root, black licorice, even fennel seed, fennel bulb. They all kind of have this black licorice aroma. And star anise, I consider to be an exotic spice. I'm getting a little bit of that, but it's really, it's not so intense where I feel like it needs to be said. I think what's important to know is that what's inside this jar is a pleasant blend of baking spices. If you like chai tea, like authentic chai tea, this might be your cup of tea, because it does have a really wonderful blend. But let's talk about the other things going on here. Again, in my head, I'm trying to bring this all back to Halloween night and trick-or-treating, but I guess we could talk about this. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Sincerity as far as the eye can see. This is got pumpkin patch all over it, and I'll explain, right? If you've had the experience of walking around a pumpkin patch during harvest season, September, October, and it's chilly, and you're walking on the soil and all of the foliage on the farm, and especially if you pick your own pumpkin. Yeah, if you pick your own pumpkin, you saw that big, thick stem. This is evoking that the wooden nature, the outdoor nature, the forest floor, freshly fallen foliage of the forest floor, the decaying debris of everything beautiful, multicolored, laying on the ground. Just imagine an autumn in that pumpkin patch, leaning down to the pumpkin and smelling the ground. And if anyone's saying, why would that smell great? Well, it does. Try it. Do it. Go out there. Experience it. If you have any doubt, it's amazing. And on top of that, there is a pumpkin note. I never get to say this, because usually when pumpkin is used in a title or a fragrance note, usually they're talking about baking spices, not the actual pumpkin itself. But this, if you want to think about cutting huge slices of pumpkin, if you're roasting them, if you're cooking little mini pumpkins like squash, or even if you just want to imagine, you know, on Halloween nights, taking that knife and gouging it into the pumpkin to create your jack-o'-lantern, that cold, icy cold innards of the pumpkin, pull all that out, and then you smell that fresh meat inside of the pumpkin. There's some of that here. And that is really interesting, because that is just something that I don't feel like is represented in a lot of pumpkin candles. A lot of pumpkin candles just deliver on the cinnamon, the nutmeg, sometimes the clove and the ginger, right? And we could say allspice in certain situations. But definitely authentic pumpkin puree, if I really had to create a descriptor. So I hate comparing candles to candles, but I'm just going to recommend, if you were a fan of pumpkin wreath, that one to me was a little bit more savory than this, but this would be a great replacement, because the last thing I'm going to say is roasted nuts. Oh yes, any big city. For me, it was New York City. Growing up, walking the streets of New York City, especially during the colder season, when you walk by those little stands where they're roasting the cashews, the walnuts, the peanuts, the pecans, and they're using honey and sugar, and it just smells like caramel, cinnamon sugar goodness. But that roasted nut aroma is so delectable and so synonymous for me with that cold time of the year, and I am getting that. It's not super sweet. It's not even really sweet at all. Really, to me, what I'm smelling is that roasted nut. We could say almond, we could say walnut, we could say pecan, but to keep it simple, let's just say roasted honey caramelized peanuts. Let's keep it super simple. And speaking of that, if anyone's a fan of Boston baked beans, the candies, right? Boston baked, I think you consider it a candy. Boston baked beans, you have that, or beer nuts, kind of came to mind when I smelled this. This has nuances of nuts, but you're not going to smell this and be like, oh, this is a bowl of mixed nuts. No, those nuts, again, complement, or let me use a different word, bridge the aromas of this spice and the wood that I was talking about before. Again, sometimes, like I said, spices can smell like wood. Sometimes nuts can smell like wood, or sometimes spice can smell like wood. I said that. But that is the nut and the wood and the spice is more of a bridging of flavor. So it fleshes out this really in-depth aroma that, again, creates the complexity, but ultimately what that does is create an authenticity and opens the doors, opens the windows to so many possibilities. When all of us smell this candle, it's going to take us, any one of us, it'll take us to our own specific memories. The setting that I see in my head won't be the same place that you see in your head, but for me, this is like being Linus with Sally out in the pumpkin patch on Halloween night, waiting for the great pumpkin and his gifts, missing out on the trick-or-treats because I don't smell any candy. Unless we're talking about old-timey penny candy that really wasn't tart or fruity, but more of the spicier candies, chalkier candies, like Necco wafers. I know a lot of people don't like Necco wafers. Imagine like a cinnamon Necco wafer. I don't think they ever made those. But I don't smell any trick-or-treats. So again, this seems to be a trend with everything that I have smelled so far this year from Yankee Candle. I've enjoyed just about everything I smelled from Yankee Candle in regards to the autumn fragrances, the Farmer's Market collection, and now this trick-or-treat. And I smelled the blackberry tea candle the other day, which that'll probably be on the shelf the third week of August, if not now. I think it's really up to the retailer's discretion. But like I said, to me, this kind of fits the category that I've said about all of those other candles. That based on the label, based on the name of the candle, there's a little bit of a detachment. You see the name, you have an expectation. You see the color, and you have the expectation. The color fits, But calling it trick or treat is just... I'm not saying it's bad, because it's always fun to get a surprise, but if you're an online Yankee Candle purchaser, like you can't smell the candle before you get it, this is a situation where you might get a candle in the mail and you're like, wait a minute, this is totally not what I was expecting. I want to elaborate a little bit more, since I don't think we're running too late on time. And this is where I'm really going to start to go. You might think I'm nuts, but I really go for the jugular sometimes in regards to being honest to what I smell, whether it sounds silly or not. This one doesn't sound silly, but this does remind me of being really young, in like the heyday. Maybe not the heyday, but like when Yankee Candle was new to me. And you would go over to a relative's house during Thanksgiving or Halloween or Christmas, and they had Yankee candles burning. A lot of my relatives, most of them anyway, live in New England. And you just smell this. There was a different style of home fragrance back then that's not always represented these days. And back then, what was huge was potpourri. The combination of everything from juniper berries to pine cones to dehydrated flowers to steeped spices. Because I'm getting this steeped, sliced blood orange, and you gotta go with blood orange, right? But I actually kind of do mean it. Blood orange, like dehydrated blood orange, steeping, whether it's potpourri or whether it's being made into a beverage on the stovetop. I said Christmas earlier, and I think that was what was driving me to Christmas. That orange zest, not orange juice, that orange zest always tends to pull me closer to, December, and I'm definitely picking that up. So that is fruit, but again, it's zest. It's not fruit. This is not really a fruity candle. I'd be surprised to hear Yankee Candle use any kind of fruit aromatic. I'm going to hit this with a little bit of heat. You guys see me do this from time to time. I'm not going to melt the candle. I just have a creme brulee torch, and I'm just going to hit it just a little bit. Try not to burn that wick. What this will do is heat up that wax. It's going to release a little bit of the fragrance oil, volatilize it. It'll become airborne. So I'm just kind of unlocking a little bit of the fragrance. Yeah, I mean, now it's even, the potpourri is coming off, a little bit more of amber. I'm putting amber in quotes. If you have any questions about that, again, leave a comment. But we talk about amber a lot and how it's a confusing topic in the world of fragrance, because it's never, the ingredient is never really amber, but there is this ambery soap like quality. Think of, remember Dials? Was it a gold bar of soap? Or the kind of translucent amber yellow colored soap. You ever see that stuff? It's kind of like it's not opaque at all. It looks like a chunk of Jell-O. It's a nice smell. I'm making it sound like it's bad, but so pulling this all together, for me, I'm going to paint this portrait to you, and I've said this a couple times already this year, and I like it. This candle brings me inside, but it also brings me outside. It's like being inside and having the window pane flung open and being able to also smell the aromatics, those beautiful earthy aromatics, of the countryside from outdoors. The outdoors, everything from the forest floor. We talked about the foliage. We talked about the assortment of wood. I won't list them all again, but again, just picture the pumpkin patch, the leaves, the crushed leaves, the leaves that are still green on the pumpkins, and then the wooden stems of the pumpkin, the cold gourd, the beautiful symbol of Halloween, the pumpkin or the jack-o'-lantern, a pumpkin puree. And then inside we have the warm furniture of a New England home, the wooden furniture and the beautiful spices coming from the kitchen off the stovetop for a warm beverage, or perhaps a little crock pot with some potpourri inside. Again, if you enjoyed pumpkin wreath, I'm just making sure, making sure I'm not getting that wrong. Pumpkin wreath, which is now retired, although you can find it at outlets all the time. This one probably will speak to you, but just know that it's not as savory. Pumpkin wreath to me, again, this sounds a little nuts, but it's pumpkin wreath to me had like this evaporated milk, malted malt milkshake, even like Captain Crunch aroma to it, which is really nice. But it made it sweet, and it made it buttery, it made it salty, it made it sweet. Where to me this is not sweet nearly at all, other than a little bit of that honey rum action going on. And the other thing I wanted to say, and it just dawned on me, I'm gonna do it, man. I'm just gonna do it because I said green leaves. There's a green note in this candle, and to me it's coming through. If anyone has this candle, if you're watching this weeks from now or months from now when it's actually released, take it off the shelf and smell it. See if I'm nuts. There's a little bit of this celery seed, celery stalk, or even tomato vine aroma. You know, tomato, when you go to the tomato vine, you take the leaf and you crush it up. It's very pungent. With a tomato leaf, it's very pungent, like celery-like smell. This isn't a pungent smell, but it has this celery seed quality. And although I'm using that as a descriptor, don't let that turn you off, because what that does is create a green foliage, or better yet, green vegetation nuance to this candle. Again, just really rounding out this candle. What I can say about this candle is that, like some of the others this year, very well balanced. I feel like it's the mixology of these candles have really been addressed. I'm not even burning this candle, I'm just smelling it cold, but I can tell the mixology, everything is in check. The spices are not out of control, they're not masking all of the other nuances, but also you're getting a larger picture than just something like, although this is a classic and I'm not making fun of it, but something like spiced pumpkin, right? You're getting a much larger portrait, if you ask me, with this candle. I like it. I'm a big fan of something like this. This is not a bright candle. So this is what I would call a low frequency candle, really warm notes, a lot of kind of, staying to the soapy, not savory, spicy side, but no big bright fruits, no apples, no citrus juice, nothing that could give you a perceived tartness. None of that. So when this candle comes out, I highly recommend you give it a sniff. See for yourself. See if you enjoy it. And please, when you do, come back and share your thoughts here at on the Candle Enthusiast. I'd love to hear what you think. But I know this won't necessarily be for everybody. And what's concerning is there's one other candle that's coming out this year that's a brand new candle, and it's called, and this candle I should mention before we put Trick or Treat away, will be released in at least one other format. You will see, like we've seen in the past several years, it come in a softer soy blend wax tumbler as well. But the other new fragrance is called Haunted Hollow, and I can actually show you right now what Haunted Hollow, not Haunted Hollow. Whew. It's time for coffee. Haunted Hayride. Let's see if I can do this. Desktop, view, transition, bam. Okay, so here's my Instagram page, what we're looking at right now, and you'll see some Kringle candle mock-ups that I did. Here's the Yankee Candle Trick or Treat candle. Again, picture courtesy of Mr. Philly Candleman. Brett, thank you very much. But here is the Haunted Hayride. Now, a lot of mixed reactions so far. I think when I put together this mock photo, people were a little bit more excited about it. But the original picture that leaked on the internet was a little confusing. I mean, we see something that we would imagine being like Haunted Hollow that we saw 2 years back, maybe even something like Black Magic. And you can't help but think that we're looking right at the backside of those two horses. But I am a fan. The color might be an odd choice, but purple and Halloween to me is it works perfectly. But my point is here, we look at this, we look at that picture. There's no way that candle is going to smell like candy, Haunted Hayride. Right? It's not going to smell like Halloween candy. It's not going to smell like candy corn. And now that I've smelled Trick or Treat, this doesn't smell like candy either. So I'm a little concerned about for the folks who tend to gravitate towards the more of the, kind of the candy fragrances. We had Happy Halloween. That was the black licorice root beer float candle, I always call it. That's now gone. I'm sure they're going to bring it back one of these days. And then even stuff like Boonilla, that's not really candy, but that is not necessarily an official retail candle. It just pops up every now and then. So my guess, here's my prediction. They poured, I mean, I don't have numbers for you, and this is all speculation, but they poured so many Witch's Brew candles last year. It came in how many formats? 4? It came in 4 formats. And that's not even considering like milk cups, votives, and tarts. So my guess is that although Witch's Brew hasn't been announced this year that it's going to be released, and that's sad because it just celebrated its 20th anniversary last year. It's a staple for Yankee Candle for me. I think what's going to happen is that most retail shops are just going to get back inventory of what did not sell last year. Could be wrong, but that's my best guess. Because there was a whole lot of Witch's Brew last year, and I just don't know if the quantity that they produced and all the different formats that they produced, if it was going to be a big seller. And I would have to say this is kind of the same thing is true for Sweet Seduction. People liked it. The feedback was good, except for the folks who thought it was a little bit too boozy. But it, just by looking at the label, the Sweet Seduction doesn't really read Halloween too much, does it? No. No bats, no ghouls, no goblins, no creatures of the night. This is just as much an autumn candle, well, probably more of an autumn candle than a Halloween candle. So maybe we'll see Sweet Seduction and Witch's Brew only back stock, or maybe they will do a pour for 2019, but they're not really pushing it too hard, just like they didn't push Sweet Seduction too hard last year. So those of you who are diehard Witch's Brew fans like myself, I really wouldn't worry too much. I'm quite confident that you'll be able to find one this upcoming season. And if you're really worried, just go on eBay. There's such an abundance of Witch's Brew from last year that you really could get it for less than retail cost. And if I can recommend, buy up those little ceramic jars that they sold last year. I love those things, and I can't imagine Yankee Candle producing Witch's Brew in a format like that, with these tiny little Witch's Cauldron ceramic jars with a lid, small, but with that soft wax, and ceramic holds heat the best. I mean, really, really well. So not only do you get a really great even burn, it's a softer wax, so it does, if those of you who really like to get the full throttle impact, a big blast of your candle quickly and not burn it as long as the paraffin candles, definitely check those out. But it also came in the tumblers, a soy wax blend in the house warmer jar, which was weird, and it also came in, first time since the original release, it came in the 22-ounce paraffin house warmer jar. And it's sad, but a lot of folks just seem to complain about the intensity of this candle. And because I have so many Witch's Brew candles, there's only a couple of years that I don't have of that candle. Here's the 1999. This was the second release of Witch's Brew. I have so many Witch's Brew candles and extras, ones that are half burned, that I just didn't burn the one from last year. So that's it, folks. Let me check with you guys in the comments section here. Please remember to hit that thumbs up button. That is so huge. It really helps me out. And I do see a couple super chats here. I want to give a big shout out to Rianne. I know I'm not saying her name right, but let's go with Rianne. And if you can, wish Rianne a happy birthday. It was her birthday yesterday, or 2 days ago. I apologize. But with a €2 super chat, thank you very much for that. And this has been a wonderful turnout. Any last questions, throw them my way. And if you're watching this later, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will get back to you. Chris Mander says, according to Yankee's Halloween collection for 2019, we are going to be transported to the world of enchantment with sugary treats and dark, mysterious woods. Maybe haunted hayride will be a candy scent. I don't think it will be, Chris, and I'll tell you why. This is Yankee Candle's. Now, don't quote me, don't hold me to it, because God forbid I was wrong. I would not want to be an enemy. But Yankee Candles, as far as I've heard through the grapevine, Yankee Candles description, not fragrance notes, of haunted hayride goes a little something like this. The aromatic wood, This aromatic woody scent opens with a purifying charcoal accord, and a warming spice notes of black pepper and nutmeg. So, to me, that charcoal is telling me we're heading in a little bit of a direction of maybe black magic. And then I smelled, and this is, I kind of owe this next comment to Brett as well, because he reminded me of this today. I smelled a candle called, I'm not sure if he's going to evaluate it, so I'm going to skip it, but it's an outlet candle, and I'm sorry for not giving the name, but I smelled this candle. Brett and I were talking about it today. I just don't want to say, just in case he evaluates it. But it had kind of some of the notes that's in this haunted hayride description. And to me, when I smelled that candle, it was very much like dreamy summer nights, which, if you know, is one of my favorites. I mean, really, because I think it steps out of Yankee Candle's comfort zone. Yankee Candle is never fantasy. It's never too far outside the box. It's never mystical. It's never magical. And I wish they would be at times. And I thought Dreamy Summer Nights was a beautiful candle because it stepped outside of the world of New England, but not to like Italy or not to the southern hemisphere, in a different location on Earth. It stepped into a world of fantasy and make-believe, and I love that candle for it. So if this haunted hayride is maybe sort of a mixture of Haunted Hollow and Dreamy Summer Nights, I think that's a good guess, I think. And maybe a little bit of that charcoal from Black Magic. I really think we might be in for something really special. Really special. And just so you know, I am working really hard on getting this candle. I will be traveling to hunt it down and bring the news to you as fast as I possibly can. But all of the Halloween candles will be released the last Saturday of August. So keep that in mind. That is when the Halloween preview party is. Every year, this will be my 4th annual trip to the Yankee Candle Village, where they decorate the whole village in Halloween decorations, and it's always such a fun party. So I will be there to document the whole experience. We'll do live videos. I will do my edited videos. But if you're anticipating the Halloween candles, again, the last Saturday in August, whatever date that falls on, that's when these Halloween candles will be released, including the accessories and Boney Bunch. Burgundy Black says, do you have any big Halloween plans video-wise or just in general? Yes, a lot of you guys know, and a lot of you are probably sick of hearing it, but I have been on an extended break, and it's not because I'm really taking time off. I'm actually working on several different projects, including trying to build the next step, the next plateau of the Candle Enthusiast. More specifically, my aromatic adventures, my travel destination videos. So I'm trying to do my best to get all of my ducks in a row, because when I come back and I launch my brand new 3rd channel, I really want it to look ready, polished, and I want the videos to be uploaded on a regular basis. So it's taking a lot of preparation. I have taken a long time off, but I tried to keep these live streams going, which is a great transition to what I'm about to say next. I'm doing an after show. That's right, we're doing another live, but it won't be here on this channel, The Candle Enthusiast. It's going to be on my secondary channel, Aromatically Speaking. So what I want to invite everyone to do, if you have the time, somebody link it up for me if you can, and if any of the moderators link up the channel Aromatically Speaking. It's youtube.com/Aromatically Speaking. But give me about 10 minutes. I'll be there. We're going to kick back. I'm going to pour some coffee. I have more unboxings. We have Yankee Candle archives, meaning we're going to take contemporary candles and compare them. In this case, a candle that is about 25 years old. We're going to compare the two. And because we're talking about Halloween today, we're going to keep it in the autumn theme, but I do have some other stuff to unbox, show you. We'll have some discussions as well. But for those of you joining in for this first look, sneak peek of Trick or Treat, brand new Yankee Candle 2019, thank you so much. I am a fan of the candle. My only worry is what others might say about it not necessarily falling into the heartwarming, perfect spot genre of Halloween. It just doesn't read specifically Halloween as much as it does just an autumn candle. But with that said, I told you what I thought about the balance, the mixology, and all of the nuance in the components. And it's a solid medium candle as far as intensity. It's not going to be super strong. It's not going to fill up several rooms in your house. But a moderate living space in your house, you let that paraffin candle pull out for a couple hours. Make sure you're burning it right, no draft, a little bit of circulation in the house. It will, I am pretty confident, I haven't burned it, but I'm pretty confident when you burn it, you will be able to detect all of those nuances that I was talking about and more, which brings up this point. If there's anything that you smell in the candle that I didn't point out, list that in the comments below. Thanks again so much, folks. I will be seeing you soon. Plenty of fun stuff coming up. Not just Halloween. There's plenty of summer stuff down the road, including a trip to the Yankee Candle Village and Kringle Candle in Bernardston, Massachusetts. So you're going to want to make sure hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of this stuff. This is candle season. This is the time of the year where Halloween, autumn, just come on really hard, and before you know it, you're already into the holiday season, the Christmas season. So much good stuff, and plus we are finally going to be back on the road, going to fun, nostalgic locations, and I'm just as excited as anybody else to get back at it. Thanks so much, guys. The support you always share with me means the world to me, and yeah, thanks again. Oh man, that was a bad sign off, but either way, I'll see you soon. Aromatically Speaking, second channel. Give me about 5 to 10 minutes and I'll see you there for the after show. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon. And this is the uncomfortable moment where I gotta stop the stream. I've already said goodbye, and I will be answering questions on the next on Aromatically Speaking.